Tiger in the Zoo in the NCERT textbook for class 10th, literature textbook in English, written by Wesley Norris. So the poem, The Tiger in the Zoo. From the title itself, we can understand that the poem is about a tiger who is inside the cage of a zoo. What exactly has forced this tiger come into the zoo? Was his own wish to come inside that? Or the human beings have purposefully done that? Obviously purposefully. Just for the satisfaction of their greed, for their own motives, they have taken the habitat of the tiger, making him homeless, and now they are making profit of it by showing it to others. Just imagine. Could you imagine that animals are making us caged like this? Not only tigers, several animals. They are forced to move away from their natural habitat and lead a life which is not at all suitable for them. So, this poem gives you a thought-provoking attitude. What is the need of zoo actually? It has to be thought of. Aren't we doing the cruelty to them even if we are going to watch these animals in the zoo? So, think on it. A tiger in the zoo. He stalks in his vivid stripes, the few steps of the cage, on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. He should be lurking in the shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plum deer pass. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws terrorizing the village. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. The poet here gives a contrast in the zoo, the tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat, and after describing the tiger in the zoo, he is coming back to the tiger in the jungle. So, first stanza. He says the tiger with its vivid strips, the black strips that we can see in the body of the tiger, the majestic way the God has created, but he doesn't have the choice to show it in the wild. Rather, he is left with only one choice inside the cage, to stalk. Stalk means to walk in the cage with few steps only. That too with the help of the velvety pads. Pads here means the claws of the tiger. It's so soft that it doesn't make any noise. So that is why the poet has compared his claws to the pads of velvet, which are very quiet. That means it doesn't make sound. But in the mind of the tiger, one thing is very, very sure, and that is anger and regression. He wants to come out, but he doesn't have the choice to show his regression. He doesn't have the choice to show his anger. So he is keeping a silent rage, silent anger in him, trying to get a solution of his dependent. He should be lurking in shadow. He is not the one who deserves to be in the cage. He should be lurking in shadow. He should have been moving along in the shadows, in the darkness, and moving here and there in the long grass along the water hole. Water hole means the source of water, be it ponds or rivers. And he used to walk calmly so that he can have his favorite deer as prey to him. He is deserving wild than the zoo. Not only that, he should be snarling around houses. He should be making noises at the jungle's edge, nearby villages. He should have made them terrorize the way he used to roar, baring his white fangs, showing his white long teeth. Fangs means long teeth. His claws, his terrorizing the villagers altogether. But what is the present situation? He cannot do anything because he is caged. That is what the poet is saying. He is locked in a concrete cell. His strength behind bars, although he is very mighty, very powerful, but his strength is behind the bars, stalking the length of his cage, and he is left with no other choice to walk inside the length of the cage. And he doesn't want to see the visitors who has snatched his freedom forever. The whole day goes like this, with visitors coming and seeing him. And the night also, he is not given enough space. Rather, the poet says that the tiger has to be has to suffer the loud noises in the night, especially created by the zookeeper, and more than that, the cars which run here and there. At this pitiful state, the poet is saying that the tiger, the majestic tiger, the ferocious tiger, whom we used to imagine in the wild, is staring with his brilliant eyes to the brilliant stars. That means he is helplessly asking God, why am I in this situation? What is the mistake that I committed that you have restricted my freedom? He just simply asks the heavenly God to give him freedom. So, this is George Leslie Norris, the poet. He was a prize winning Welsh poet and short story writer and has won many prizes. The poet describes the appearance of the tiger in a zoo. He finds the tiger moving up and down in the cage, and the black stripes of the ferocious animal was visible even at the farthest distance. They could be seen far away as they are darker than the rest of his body. His claws are described as velvet pads, so when he moves, no sound is made. The desperate tiger could move only a few steps as he is restricted in the cage. He is furious but is suppressing its anger as he knows of its helplessness. So, this is the tiger in the cage. Just imagine this ferocity is just limited to this cage. The poet is pitiful at the tiger. He is comparing the natural habitat with the situation at present. The tiger would have been moving in the darkness behind the long grass to hide himself from its prey. He might have been seen at the water hole where all the animals gathered to have some water, especially the deer, his favorite. Just imagine the tiger who is majestic like a royal one. He used to be the ruling one in the forest. Now he is like a prisoner in the cage, limiting all his wildness. The poet imagines if the tiger is left to live in the jungles, he would have definitely approached the village and start scaring the villagers at the forest edge. He would have his claws and white fangs to frighten the village. The hint here is the fact that if human beings destroy the natural habitat of tiger, they will be forced to turn to villages and towns in search of their food. He is locked in the concrete cell. His strength, vitalness, and ferocity has been chained behind the bars. He is left with no other option other than moving in the limited space of the cell, paying no heed to the visitors at the zoo. The poet finally describes the daily routine of the tiger. He doesn't take rest during the daytime. He is continuously visited by the people at zoo. Even at night he is awake as he is disturbed by the noise of the patrolling cars. He stares at the brilliant sky with his astonishing eyes, maybe sharing his helplessness to the Almighty and asking why he is treated like this. So, this is the poem. Just imagine, does zoo really need to be there in our society? Are we the people who can restrict the liberty of animals? Do we have the right to do so? The tiger is personified because the poet refers him as he. Tiger's paws are compared with velvet. Message: the life of a tiger in the zoo is compared to its life in natural habitat. The poet conveys an important message that the wild animals should be in their natural habitat. In the poem, he heightens the contrast between freedom and captivity. Every human or animal loves freedom. No one likes to be imprisoned. In the poem, the tiger is not free. It has been encaged and its liberty has been snatched away. The poet is also throwing light on the rights of animals. So, this is the poem. I hope you have understood. Thank you.